What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. In this one, it's my team selection for Game Week 26. I'm going to run you through what I'm doing with my assistant manager, why I might move the armband from Mo Salah, and also why I might take my first hit of the season. And I'll quickly run you through how I did in Game Week 25. So let's get straight into it. So let's start with Game Week 25, and it was a pretty good week for me. I scored 112 points total, which took me from 209k to 123k, which is my highest overall rank so far this season. Hopefully we can push on from here, but I've said that many times already this season, so I'm not getting my hopes up. Pretty much all my points came from double game week players and manager, plus Arsenal. So I had Trent Alexander-Arnold in defence, 13-pointer. He went off before Wolves scored in the first game, and was subbed last night just after he scored against Aston Villa. So got very lucky with him. I absolutely take that. Salah got a 20-point, and we've come to expect him scoring plenty of points. He was captain, so that was 40 total. And then my two transfers were Eze to Nwaneri and Njai to Watkins. And to do Njai to Watkins, I had exact money for a 4.5 million midfielder. I couldn't go anywhere else. So unless I wanted to take a hit, it had to be Nwaneri. And even better, Eze was on the bench, which I wasn't expecting. I fully thought he would be in the first 11. So that was a bonus for me. Nwaneri got a 9-pointer and Watkins got a 15-pointer. So those two transfers were really good. And even better, I was really worried about not having Utara, Semenyo, Cliver. I could have only picked one of them for Game Week 25 anyway. And Nwaneri ended up outscoring all of them. I don't expect that to happen over the next 3 to 4 weeks, but so far, so good. The only double game week player that blanked was Rodgers. And in the league, he's been really disappointing for FPL recently, especially when he's been getting so many returns in kind of cup competitions in Europe and stuff like that. But it is what it is. Not every player is going to return every week. And then with Arne Slot, it was another 1 win, 1 draw. So a 13-pointer to go with the 15 points he got in Game Week 24. When the chip was announced, I was expecting to use it over a double game week, but not back-to-back. So I was expecting 1 double game week plus 2 single game weeks, 4 games total. And I was kind of earmarking 30 points plus. Slot after 4 games is on 28 points. So it almost feels a little bit below par, but still not terrible, right? I'm not complaining about 28 points. And I've got 1 more week to come from the assistant manager. Overall, I already wasn't a big fan of the chip. I still think that's the case. Like last night, for example, when it was 2-2, I was thinking, do I want Rodgers or Watkins to score here? Because if they do, I've got them, and that's extra points. But then it's going to remove the points I've got from Slot, and it's going to add points to everyone that's got Unai Emery. And obviously, you know, it could have been the other way around, or I could have had Trent score to make it 3-2, and all of a sudden I've got him, and then I've got extra points from Slot, and it removes the points from Unai Emery. I get it works both ways, but it just wasn't all that fun trying to figure out whether I wanted points from my players or not. And I'm not saying they have to get rid of the chip. If they keep it, so be it. I'm not going to complain. But I just don't think it was needed. I don't think it really makes the game better, in my opinion. But if it stays, it is what it is. We'll manage it every single season and try and get the most points from it possible. So overall, really good week, 112 points. In Burmo, Palmer, Isak, Pickford and Anderson blanked, but I'm not going to complain with a near 90k green arrow. Let's see what Game Week 26 is looking like. So for the first time in what feels like forever, I've only got 1 free transfer going into this week, and I might take my first hit of the season. I'll talk about what that might be a little bit later on. I'm probably not going to move any of my defenders this week. Jordan Pickford in goal, Man United at home. He's probably just going to stay until I wildcard, which is likely to be Game Weeks 30 or 31, ahead of that double for Newcastle and Palace in 32, which is already confirmed. And then the next double, which will almost certainly be Game Week 33, based on who gets to the FA Cup semi-finals. So Pickford staying. Gabriel more than happy with. West Ham at home this week is a really good fixture. We know the goal threat he's got, how good Arsenal defence is. And the fixtures are pretty good. They do play Chelsea in the blank in 29. Maybe not ideal when I own Cole Palmer. But after that, the fixtures are pretty good again for Arsenal. So he's definitely staying. I've still got Joachim Andersen in defence rather than Mykolenko. And I understand what people are saying about the Man United attack. It's not looking great right now. And Everton at home are tough to beat, right? So I think you could make a case to have Mykolenko instead of Andersen. But I think people are underestimating Fulham as well. Like their defence is pretty decent, right? I know they haven't had a huge amount of clean sheets so far this year. Everton do have more. But I think them at home to Crystal Palace is not all that bad. And it's one of the reasons that I'm not all that keen on going for Glasner assistant manager, but I'll talk about that in a second. So right now, I'm still playing Andersen ahead of Mykolenko, but I might switch that. I actually think the player I should maybe take out of my defence is Trent. because I just don't see Liverpool getting a clean sheet. And they're obviously managing a bit of the injury that he's had recently because he keeps getting subbed early. Slot said last night he would have liked to have kept him on, but obviously there was fitness concerns there. Now, Conor Bradley did pick up an injury himself last night, so that will improve Trent's minutes. They'll have to keep him on the pitch a little bit longer. But there is part of me thinking just play Anderson and Mykolenko and just back the fact that Man City will probably score. If Pep doesn't speak positively about Haaland being available for Liverpool, then I'd probably be less inclined to bench Trent. And I probably won't do it anyway, for what it's worth. I'm just getting my thoughts out there. But it is a consideration. But I think because of his attacking potential, I've got to always play Trent when he's in my team. So right now it's Gabriel, Anderson and Trent Alexander-Arnold. And then I've got Slot against Man City away. I am 99% sure I'm going to switch him this week. If Haaland is ruled out of the game, bearing in mind he was on the bench last night against Real Madrid, so it's unlikely. If he was ruled out, maybe I'd just stick to Slot. But Man City away on paper just doesn't sound great when there's no table bonus on offer. Because even if they get a draw, it's only like 3 or 4 points. So it's not really an ideal position to be in. So I'm probably going to switch manager. And I think I'm going to play it very boring and go for Mikel Arteta, which is no table bonus, but it is West Ham at home. And no matter how many attacking injuries that Arsenal have right now, I still think Trossard, Nwaneri and whoever they end up playing in that front three, Sterling or probably Marino, is enough. And you've got Odegaard behind. Most of the other players are fit in that team. I don't see them conceding a huge amount of goals to West Ham at home. So they've only got to score 1 or 2 to win that game. So I'm probably just going to move to Arteta. My problem with the other managers, and I don't want to go into this in great detail because I've already spoken about it quite a lot this week, is with someone like McKenna for Ipswich versus Spurs, or even Ruud van Nistelrooy. I'm backing Ipswich and Leicester. It just doesn't sit right, even though they're at home. And I know Ange Postecoglou and Spurs haven't been super consistent this year, but I think they're a better team than Ipswich, right? Even though it's away. And Brentford with Visser and Mbeumo can always hurt you. So can I see Leicester getting a clean sheet? No. Which means they've got to score at least 2, maybe 3, because I can see Mbeumo and Visser getting a couple between them. I just don't think I can back Leicester and Ipswich. And so the other option is Glasner, who everybody is talking about right now because of how well they've done away from home. And maybe I'm underestimating Glasner as an option this week. I just don't see Fulham away as that good of a fixture. And okay, if he gets a draw, that's good. But I'd almost be more convinced that Arsenal get a win against West Ham than Palace definitely get at least a draw against Fulham. That's essentially what you're backing, right? If you get the draw for Palace, it's the same as a win for Arsenal, pretty much. But I'm not sure I'm as confident. If it was home, by the way, if it was Fulham at home, I would definitely go for Glasner. I wouldn't even be talking about this. I would just say I'm definitely going to him. It's at home. It's a table bonus game. It's just the fact that it's away. So I'm pretty sure I'm moving Slot, like 99%. And I'm like 75-80% sure I'm going to Arteta. I don't think I'm going to back Leicester or Ipswich. The only other option is Glasner. There's just something telling me not to go there. And also, by the way, if I play Anderson, it's like doubling down, right? If Fulham do get a clean sheet, not only have I got my points for Anderson, everyone else that goes Glasner has got, at the maximum, a draw. So I almost want to back against that because I feel like a lot of people are going to go to Glasner. So I'm just going to back Arsenal, as I have done for many times or many game weeks this season, with kind of Gabriel, Saliba, the triple up on defence. I had Saka, now I've got Nwaneri. I just think they're so strong. So I'm probably going to move Slot to Arteta with my free transfer. So I'm pretty happy with my midfield this week. Cole Palmer's got Aston Villa away, which isn't that bad of a fixture. But more importantly, it's Southampton at home next week, followed by Leicester at home in game week 28. I might sell Palmer to fund a move for Haaland in game week 29 if Haaland is fully fit. But I don't need to decide that until game week 29. So for now, Palmer stays. I might captain Palmer, but not this week. Potentially next week when he plays Southampton at home. In game week 27, Salah's got Newcastle at home, so he's still a great captain choice as well. But I know that most people won't want to take the armband off him. So potentially, if I'm willing to take the risk, I might go Palmer. But don't hold me to that because I'll probably change my mind. Mbeumo, Leicester away, pretty self-explanatory. He stays, no plans to sell him into a wild card. Pretty much same situation with Salah. Maybe I sell him in game week 29, but I think it's quite likely that I decide not to do that. But we'll see when we get closer to that game week. At the moment, Salah doesn't have the captain's armband for game week 26, but it does feel like the obvious and safe play this week. So I might move it back, but I'll talk about that later. And then Ethan Nwaneri, just bought him in. Minutes look good right now. West Ham at home is a decent fixture, so he obviously stays. The only time to worry about him is when Martinelli and Saka are back fit, but that probably won't be until at least game week 30. Morgan Rogers, Chelsea at home, not an issue, right? I could play him this week, but I am tempted to take a hit and move him to Utara at Bournemouth. And luckily, when I checked my suggested transfers over on Fantasy Football Hub, that's exactly what they are recommending as well. If you want to check your suggested transfers, by the way, link in the description below. 7-day free trial, 30% off at the moment. And that just seems like a really good move because Rodgers doesn't have a fixture in 29. And I think the fixtures overall from now until 29 are better for Bournemouth anyway, even if you exclude game week 29. And he's the only one I can afford, right? Utara. I don't have the money to go to Kluivert or Semenyo. And I think until Evan Nielsen is back, Utara's minutes are going to be pretty good and he's going to play as that number 9. So I am tempted to take the hit, and that would be my first of the season. If this was a normal period of the season with no doubles or blanks, I'd almost certainly not take the hit and just keep Rodgers. The reason that I'm open to doing it is because I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to take a hit to sell Rodgers in game week 29 anyway. So I'm just bringing that hit forward. Now, again, usually I wouldn't do that because things can change over the next couple of weeks, but I'm not really sure what changes other than Utara getting injured. If that happened, obviously this would then look like a mistake, but without that hindsight, I think it looks like a pretty good move. And I know that I'm probably going to need a hit in 29 if I want to get 11 players out because I've got Trent, Salah, Rodgers and Watkins who all aren't going to play. So I'm almost certainly going to have to take that hit later. And because I know it's a blank and I'm going to want to get 11 players out because I think there's a decent amount of good fixtures to warrant that, I might as well just take the hit now unless I'm missing something. So I think that's probably what I'm going to do. Slot to Arteta and then Rodgers to Utara. But the only reason I'm doing that is because of the blank coming up. If that wasn't an issue, I'd probably just keep hold of Rodgers. So that's probably the two moves I'm going to make. It's going to feel weird taking a hit because it's the first time I think ever in 15 seasons playing FPL I've gone this long without taking one. But I think this is now probably the right time to do it. And then the two I'm playing up front are Ollie Watkins against Chelsea at home and Alexander Isak against Forest at home. On the bench, it's João Pedro with Southampton away. And usually I'd play him in such a good fixture. But at the moment, we don't even know if he's going to be in the first 11. If Fabian Hertzler says something in his press conference that makes me think João Pedro is going to start, then I'll just play him and I'll bench Rodgers and I won't take that hit for Utara. But I just don't think he's going to say anything that's useful in that manner. So I'm probably going to have to bench João Pedro. Longer term plan for him, once my assistant manager finishes this week, I'll get 1.5 million back in the bank. That will give me enough money to do João Pedro to Cunha. So I can just do that from game week 27 onwards. I don't feel like there's a rush to get Cunha this week for my team. So I'll just wait until I've got that money back. For now, João Pedro just sits on the bench. Ollie Watkins only just bought in. Chelsea at home, not that bad. Then it's Palace away and Brentford away. Basically, the plan with Watkins is to sell him in game week 29. If I end up selling Palmer or Salah to fund a move for Haaland, then I'll just do Watkins to Haaland, obviously. If not, I guess I might own Chris Wood for the first time this season. But we'll see what happens when we get there. I might take a punt on Marmoush or someone like that instead. So Watkins stays for the next 3 game weeks as long as he can stay fit. And then with Isak, I'm going to have to bench 1 or 2 attackers in game week 29 if I'm not free hitting. If possible, I want to keep hold of Isak because I know I'm going to want him after the blank with a double in 32 and possibly another one in 33. But I don't have that much money tied up in him. So potentially I could sell him in 29 as well. But we'll wait until we get to that point. In terms of captaincy, at the moment, the armband is on Isak with Forest at home. Now, Forest have defended extremely well so far this season. They're top 5 for expected goals conceded. But Newcastle and Isak are also just very strong at home. And I'm looking for reasons to go against Salah. He's done so well this season, ridiculously well. Most weeks you've just got to go for him. So if there's the odd week you can take a risk where not many other people are going to do the same, I want to try and do that. Maybe next week, Palmer against Southampton at home. Possibly this week because Salah's playing against City away. The problem is Salah's got a pretty good record against City and they're just not playing as well as we're used to. I mean, we're used to it this season now, but not from previous seasons. So I just don't know if I can take the armband off him. Like Palmer Villa away, and Burma Leicester away, Isak Forest at home. I wish one of them had like Southampton at home or Leicester at home, and then it would just be so easy. Like if Isak had Leicester at home or Palmer had that, and sorry Leicester fans by the way, I'm just using you as an example, even if it was Ipswich at home, right? I would just do it. But Forest at home, the Leicester game's away. Parma's not been that great recently. Villa away, could they make it tough? None of them are just standing out. That's the problem. That's why I'm hesitating to switch the armband. But at the moment, it's on Isak. I looked at the projected points on the My Team tool. Isak's at 6.8. Salah's at 7.2. Parma 6.6. In Burmo 5.6. That feels a little bit low to me, to be honest. But either way, Isak's quite close to Salah. So maybe I take the risk. It just means that when is the Liverpool game? Let me just double check here. Liverpool's the last game against City on Sunday. I mean, when we get there, I'll know what my captain's done because Isak's playing on Sunday. If Isak's blanked, then that City-Liverpool game is just going to be horrible to watch. Like, going against Salah this season is just never fun. So I might switch it back and be boring, but I want to take the risk and go Isak, and I want to take the risk next week and go Palmer as well, but we'll see what happens. If you enjoyed that video, make sure to give it a like, hit that subscribe button, check out Fantasy Football Hub using the links in the description below. Rate 5 stars if you listen on podcast, and I'll catch you tomorrow for final thoughts and the deadline stream. Remember, it's another 6:30 PM UK time Friday deadline this week, so don't miss that, and I'll catch you again soon.